He took my presentation to impress a Fortune 500 CEO. The slides destroyed him instead. I was staring at my phone, the screen cracked and smeared with fingerprint grease, reading a text message from my boss that essentially told me to sit in my corner like a good little dog while he took credit for my blood, sweat, and sanity. The $12 million Fortune 500 pitch was starting in exactly 5 minutes in the main boardroom, and he had just wiped my name off the metadata of the master deck. My chest tightened, a cold knot of pure adrenaline forming in my stomach, but instead of storming down the hall to confront him, I just sat back in my chair, took a slow sip of my lukewarm coffee, and waited for the trap to spring. For 3 years, I had been the silent engine of the entire analytics department. I was a senior data strategist, which is corporate code for the guy who actually builds the architecture, runs the numbers, and solves the impossible problems while the executives play golf. My immediate supervisor was a guy named Tristan. Tristan was 28, possessed a vocabulary consisting entirely of buzzwords like synergy and paradigm shift, and was the textbook definition of a Nepo baby. His uncle was the vice president of regional operations, which meant Tristan was untouchable. He wore tailored Vineyard Vines vests, smelled aggressively of Santal 33, and treated the office like his personal fraternity house. But his favorite pastime was patronizing me. "You're just the human calculator, Logan," he hissed at me one afternoon, leaning over my cubicle wall and invading my personal space. "You crunch the numbers. You do the basement work, but you lack executive presence. You don't know how to talk to the big boys. That's why I'm here to translate your little spreadsheets into actual business language." I felt the heat rising in my neck and my vision went blurry with rage, but I kept my mouth shut. I needed this job. My student loans were a crushing weight, and the medical bills from my mother's recent surgery were piling up on my kitchen counter. Tristan knew exactly how much leverage he had, and he weaponized it daily. For 36 months, I watched him take my predictive models, my demographic heat maps, and my risk assessment algorithms, slap his name on the cover page, and present them to the board. I watched him get 2 promotions and a 6-figure bonus entirely on the back of my intellectual labor. I swallowed my pride, day in and day out, telling myself that eventually, the work would speak for itself. Then came the Q2 strategy deck. This wasn't just another quarterly review. We were pitching a massive Fortune 500 logistics company. Landing this client meant a $12 million contract that would single-handedly keep our division from facing mass layoffs. The stakes were astronomical, and the timeline was brutal. The executive team wanted a fully integrated, data-backed overhaul of the client's supply chain inefficiencies, and they needed it in 2 days. Tristan, predictably, panicked. He pulled me into his glass-walled office, shut the blinds, and dropped the brief on my desk. "I need you to handle the heavy lifting on this, buddy," he whispered, clapping a heavy hand on my shoulder. "I'll manage the client relationship, but I need you in the trenches. Don't let me down." For the next 48 hours, I didn't sleep. I didn't go home. I lived in my cubicle under the harsh, buzzing fluorescent lights. My spine felt like rusted rebar from hunching over my dual monitors. I survived on stale vending machine pretzels, black coffee, and sheer, unfiltered desperation. I built an entirely new predictive churn analysis from scratch. I mapped out 3 years of logistical bottlenecks and created a proprietary algorithm to streamline their shipping routes. I formatted everything perfectly, crafting 64 slides of pure, undeniable business intelligence. It was my masterpiece. It was the kind of work that made careers. By 7 a.m. on the day of the pitch, my eyes were bloodshot and my hands were actually shaking from the caffeine, but the deck was flawless. I uploaded the final file to the shared department drive and slacked Tristan to let him know it was ready for review. 10 minutes later, he strolled into my cubicle. He was wearing a fresh suit, his hair slicked back perfectly, holding a green juice. He looked down at me, his eyes scanning my wrinkled clothes and the dark purple bags under my eyes with poorly concealed disgust. "Now, if you think this is just another story about a corporate parasite getting away with murder, you're dead wrong." What Tristan didn't realize as he stood there practically laughing at my exhaustion was that he was about to walk directly into a digital bear trap. In just a few minutes, I'm going to weaponize his own massive ego, completely expose his lies in real time to a Fortune 500 CEO, and walk out of that room with his 6-figure job. To watch full story, kindly follow on screen instructions.